Well, for me, I've always believed that um, making, through storytelling and through a film, we're able to humanize something, and possibly something that used to be very taboo and difficult. And I think through a story, we are able to see it more as a human experience, and we're able to empathize a lot more with the subject matter or with the people involved in the subject matter. So I don't I don't see it necessarily as I'm not really sort of looking for a controversy, because the issue of the death penalty is something that I've always been concerned about, and I wanted to be able to humanize it and put it in a human story. Yeah. The interesting thing is, I've come to realize actually that Malay as a language, even though I don't understand the vocabulary very much, because I wrote the script, and because I speak Singlish, and in my daily life I do encounter Malay words here and there. It wasn't very difficult for me to grasp what the actors were saying. I think a large part of language, or in understanding language, has a lot to do with context. Like sometimes if you sit with people who are speaking maybe Spanish or French, and you don't understand what they're saying, but you understand the context of what they're saying or where they're coming from. Sometimes through body language and through different ways of expression, you can kind of get what they are saying. And I think that was what I realized when I was directing the film. I remember when I first interviewed the hangman, the first hangman that I spoke with. 5 minutes into the conversation, I forgot he was a hangman. I thought he was such a funny, lovable, sort of a grandfather kind of character, and I realized that the character that I had written by that time was pretty much just a caricature. It was a one-dimensional character that I imagined him to be, and that to me was a big lesson, because I realized I really needed to humanize this character in order for the film to work, in order for the relationships in the to work, and that was very important. Yeah, the character of Aiman is also a very challenging character to write, because he basically embodies both someone who needs to do his duty. He wears a uniform as a prison officer. He needs to rise to the occasion and do his duty, but at the same time he is in many ways a casualty of capital punishment. His father was hanged, and so how is he able to reconcile sort of these two roles that he plays, is quite central to what the film is about. And so as a result, the conflicts were very internal, and therefore that was also a very difficult character to write. Yeah. I suppose the biggest writing and director's challenge was, sometimes when you're writing and you are like, oh, that detail, maybe later, then I'll deal with it, I'll think about it later. And it's not like you can hand it over to a director who will solve it for you. You have to solve it yourself, because you are also the director. So that to me was one of the things that, like in writing, I'm thinking, okay, this little detail, later on I can think about it, or later on I can solve. But then it always comes back to haunt me, like, okay, damn it, now I have to think of how I need to resolve this. So that's one of the bigger challenges.